Hey guys, this is Paul from Smart Easy DIY. Today I wanted to show you how to make a rustic vanity light with a rough board like this. So you can easily do this yourself with a few different tools and a few different parts, and I'll show you as the video goes along here. So this particular rough cut board I got at Home Depot. You can get them at your local Home Depot if you have one, or any kind of rough board that you want to use. Now this board in particular is not finished on the sides, so I'm gonna have to do a little trick on the table saw that I'll show you to make it look all finished all the way around. All right guys, so the next thing I wanted to show you is I ripped this board at 6 inches. And what I did is I left one edge normal. This is gonna be up top so you'll never see it. Then what I did is down here, I ripped this at a 45 down through here. I cut the ends on the chop saw at a 45, like this. The reason for that being is I ripped another strip here, and I ripped it 1.1 inch here on the long point, and I'm gonna put this under here like this, so that way it's all finished off when you're looking at it from underneath. The same for the ends like this, gonna go just like that. So that way you'll see this nice rough cut all the way around on the 3 sides that you're gonna see. So also the one thing I wanted to show you, the reason I went 1.1 inch on this is just to give this a little room for the wires and stuff in the back here. So this board's a 3/4, then by giving it that 1.1 inch, that gives me just a little extra room back there. So now this is something I wanted to show you. It's a Minwax stain marker. I used a dark walnut one, and I'll include a link in the video description below the video where you can find this if you want. And I highly recommend using this because it hides any kind of stuff that you see. So in this example, since this is the corner you're gonna see from down below, and this is the corner here, the 2 outside corners, I take this stain marker, just mark it on all the points that you're gonna see, and just about 1/8 inch wide or so, just wide enough that you hide any kind of white that you would see from underneath, because when you're looking at it later, you don't wanna see any of this shiny wood underneath. So this is just a little trick to make so you don't see any of that. Okay, so now that you got your marker all the way around on all the outside corners like that, it's time for assembly. So now I'm gonna use a Makita cordless brad nailer to nail this together. You can use whatever brad nailer you have. You can use trim head screws, but I like the brad nailer because it leaves very little that you can see once you nail it on. So watch out for knots right here. If I were to fire one right in here, it probably would just bend over and make an ugly spot. So you have to really watch for those hard knots. Now that you have that all assembled, you can touch up any places where the edges peeled up a little bit or something, if you see any white spots. But as you can see, it looks very finished that way, all the way around on the sides that you're gonna see. All right, so in this vanity light, I'm gonna do 4 lights. So what I wanted to show you, I have 4 1/2 inch floor flanges here. And then I have 4 4-inch nipples that are 1/2 inch. Then I have 4 90 degrees, that's 1/2 inch on one side and 3/4 on the other. And then I have 4 outdoor light sockets like this and some screws. All right guys, one thing I did want to mention quick is you can change up which size nipple that you use. I had mentioned earlier about the 4-inch, and this is a 3-inch and this is a 2.5. So I actually got mixed up with another project I did. Thought I used the 4-inch, but I like the look of the 3-inch better. I think the 4-inch hangs out too far. Maybe if you're doing a bigger light, you may want the bigger one. So you can kind of experiment which one you want, but I would recommend for this project to use the 3-inch. So the next thing on these is I used some rubbing alcohol and cleaned the ends on the big ends here, the 3/4 inch. And then I cleaned also the back side of these ones, because what I'm gonna do is use some Gorilla Super Glue gel and glue these in here. So now it's a little tricky, but you have to bend those wires to get them through the hole first, and then I applied some glue there. And then you wanna get that in there. Try not to get too excessive with the glue because you don't want it to squish out and see a bunch of it. You'll see a little, but you wanna make sure you also get enough on there. So then once you get it in there, you have to hold that for a little while, maybe a 1/2 minute or so, and make sure that that's glued in there really well. If you do get a little excess glue on there, you can just wipe it off before it dries, and you should be good. I was gonna say there may be something that works better than this Gorilla Glue, this Super Glue Gel, but I know this is for steel and rubber. So I've used this before on a couple lights that I've made, and I've had really good luck with it. There may be some kind of epoxy if you want to experiment with that. The next thing I do is use a wire strippers and cut about a 3/8 inch back on these. Now you want to make sure if you do this to not pull tension on this part. You can kind of hold the wires and do them. You could do this before you install, before you glue them like this, if you want as well. Okay, so the next thing I do is get some black and white number 14 stranded wire, and I cut some pieces off. I usually cut them about 3 feet long or so, depending on where your box is going to be when you mount your light. You just want to have some excess. So the next thing I do before putting these nipples on is I have to lengthen these wires because they're too short to fit through there. So I attach the wires here and I just use these butt splice connectors. This is what they're called. And this says it's for number 12 to 10 wire, but I found if I use the 14 ones, they're a little bit small. So these go on a lot easier. Then you just use a crimping tool like this and crimp it together. And then that way it makes a nice connection and it's insulated and it's ready to go. And I'll include a link in the video description for any of the tools, the things, the parts that you need for putting this together. If you want, I'll try to compile a list that will be easy for you to find of the different stuff that hopefully will be helpful to you. So now we do have quite a bit of wire to feed through here, but it's not a big deal. So you want to feed those through the nipple. Then you can thread this on here. So you can just kind of hand snug it for now. And go ahead and get these all assembled like this. The reason for not using wire nuts to do this is they wouldn't fit inside the pipe, so you have to have something that's pretty low profile. That's why these butt splice connectors work good. Okay guys, the next thing you want to do is figure out your spacing layout depending on what size your board is. So what I ended up doing for the first one is I went 4.5, then I spaced it 9 more inches, 9 more inches, 9 more inches. So the end ones are 4.5 inches in from the ends, and then the others are 9-inch spacing. So what I would do is kind of figure out what you think is going to look good on the edges and then space the centers accordingly. So then once you have your spacing marked out this way, you also want to mark it center this way. What I like to do then is use a small drill bit and drill all those, and then I'm going to use a big 1/2-inch bit to finish it with. The next thing we're going to do is put these on centered in the holes where we are. You can double check the measurement if you want, make sure they're spaced correctly. But if you center them right over your hole, that should be good. So we're going to go ahead and screw those on. And guys, if you haven't already, you should check out my Instagram @SmartEasyDIY, where I do a lot of behind the scenes stuff, just my daily life and the projects I'm working on. So you should check that out. Go ahead and follow me on there. So if this video was helpful so far, I'd appreciate if you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Share this with your friends. So one mistake I made is I used 3/4 inch screws. They stuck through a little more than what I wanted, so I ended up having to grind them off because I don't want anything back there to touch the wires at all. So I would recommend getting 5/8 inch screws or even 1/2 inch screws. Now it's time to thread those in there and assemble the light fixtures. Make sure to not turn on the rubber part. Just use your hand on the metal part when you're turning them. That way it won't pop that loose from the glue. Now I wanted to show you how I wire the back. So say for example, if you have these two on this end here, I bring them over because my box is going to be in the middle. Right here's the middle of the light. And so I bring these together and I crimp them together, the whites and the black. Then I run another single one off of there, and that's what's going to go in the box. So I'm going to do the same. When I come from the other side, I'm going to bring it over to here, and I'll have another one just like this. Now for example, if your box isn't center where you're going to mount the light, if your box is over here, what you could do is just have these shorter over on this side, and the other ones that you bring over, you could keep them long so they reach to this side. That's the one beauty of doing a light like this, is you can put it wherever you want. The box can be anywhere it wants to in there. So one more thing I wanted to mention, anytime you make a crimp like that, it's a good idea to pull on the wire a little bit, pull a little tension on either way, and make sure that they're tight. Yeah, then once you got these all together, you can just put these guys together with your wire in your box. You could put these together with another one, just a single, but there's no need to. You can easily wire nut two of them onto your wire in the box. So another thing I like to do just to keep the wires orderly while you're hanging the light is I put just a little duct tape on here to hold it. That way they don't stick out. You could staple them if you want to, but it's mainly just to keep the wires in order while you're hanging the light. So then the other thing I do is get some 3000K Edison bulbs, some LEDs, and put those in there. Okay guys, we're ready to install this vanity light. It's a little bit echoey in here. Hope you can hear me okay. So what I wanted to talk to you about is, you probably wonder how you want to fasten this light. I use these trim head screws like this. These ones are white, but it doesn't really matter the color because you won't see them. They're just a small little screw. Every 16 inches I like to put them in your stud. That should be sufficient to mount it. Alright, so you want to make sure your switch is off, so there's no power there. If you have to, you can test it to make sure with a tester. Then you want to get your wires all prepped. If you're replacing an existing light, chances are it's prepped. Then you want to get the wires prepped on your light like this, because once you're up there, you're going to have to hold it while you fasten the wires, and then keep holding it while you level it and screw it in. Alright guys, the moment of truth we've been all waiting for. Hit the light switch, and it works! Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed this video. I do apologize I had to shoot most of it sideways because of my work table situation. I couldn't really show it straight on. And I'll include a link in the video description for any of the parts that I used for this. Try to get an itemized list together for you for a 36-inch light like this one. Or if you want to do a 48, you just add a little bit of whatever you need. Extra bulbs, extra parts, and all that. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for future projects. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful. Let me know in the comments how you did making your own. All right, thanks for watching, guys.